Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I will be showing you guys how I edit my videos. This has been a highly requested video, and I know that for me personally, when I was starting to make YouTube videos, when I watched other people's how to make YouTube videos, I found it really helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer them. So I'm just gonna go through and I'll show you what I do to edit my videos. I also have timestamps down below in the description if there's a specific section that you want to go to. So yeah, I use Final Cut Pro. This is on my MacBook Air, and when I first started out making YouTube videos, I started with iMovie. iMovie is a free video editing software that comes with Apple products, so for example like Macs, and that was pretty good. I used iMovie for about a year-ish, and yeah, it was really easy to make videos there. It's pretty self-explanatory. I know that Final Cut Pro is a bit an investment. Personally, I think that was worth it just because I started making more YouTube videos and there are more features I can use with Final Cut Pro. But if you're on a tight budget or you don't know whether you want to invest in Final Cut Pro, I would definitely say start with iMovie, see how it goes. Maybe you'll find that that's all the features that you need and you don't feel like you need to invest in Final Cut Pro. And if so, that's great, stick with iMovie. And if you feel like after using iMovie that you want to get some more additional features, specifically like titles, transitions, and just like the more nitty-gritty things where you can add on different effects, then I would say go ahead and install Final Cut Pro. So yes, I'm just gonna show you guys what I do on Final Cut Pro. So the first thing I'll do is import all my footage, and I use an SD card to record my footage. So I'll take the SD card out of my camera and then I'll put it into my computer. So I'll go ahead and import all of the footage into Final Cut Pro, and what I'll do is I will click on File, New, and then click on New Library. And what you do with the library is this is where you store all the raw footage just directly from the SD card or whatever you're using to record. So I named the library YouTube videos, and then it comes up with a project. So for this particular example, I'm going to show you guys how I edited my Target video where I talked about the pros and cons about my experience working at Target. And the library will automatically have an event, and the event is basically just another subsection where you can drop all the footage. Within the event, you have to make a project. And this project, I'm just going to title it What It's Like to Work at Target. And then you open the project and you can import and drop all the footage from your SD card. Before I begin to cut out the parts of the video that aren't needed, what I'll do first is I will color grade and adjust the volume. I personally think it's easier to color grade and adjust the volume at the beginning before you cut everything up, just because there's less clips. Like, yes, you can copy and paste the attributes, but I've found that if later on I made a mistake or I want to fix the color grading or I want to adjust the volume, it's really difficult to do that if you're gonna do it to every single individual clip. So I definitely recommend just doing the coloring and volume straight off the bat. So what I'll do first is I will go to the color board. I'll start with one clip and I'll adjust the color until I like it, and then I will paste all the attributes later. So I'll just show you how I'm editing this one clip. So you go to this little rainbow triangle icon, and that's where you can adjust the different colors, saturation, exposure. First I'll go to the color section, and as you can see there's the master toolbar, there's shadows, midtones, and highlights. So master will adjust all three of those, and the other ones like shadows, midtones, highlights, those will adjust the specific parts of the colors that you want to fix. I'll first start out by adjusting the master, and typically videos will turn out pretty yellow, so you want to adjust them by either turning up the blue or turning up the pink. So I'll just move the master over and I'll test whether I like the blue look better or the pink look better. And here, as you can see, I went with more of the pink. Just a note, make sure that the percentage is actually going beyond 0, because if it's just 0, it's not going to change anything. So you just want to make sure that you are actually increasing the percentage. After that, I'll go over to the saturation. Saturation will turn up the intensity of the, specifically I'd say orange hues of the video, so that's more like skin tone. Sometimes the lighting can wash you out a bit, so saturation just adds that color back to your face. I'll just play around with the master tool until I like the look of it, and here I went up to 36%, and then I'll just go ahead and play around with the exposure. Again, master, I turned it up to 15%. Exposure will just turn up the general brightness of the video. So So as you can see, I adjusted the color for one of the video clips, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the effects that I did and then just paste them directly onto the other video clips so I don't have to go one by one individually. Definitely saves you a lot of time. To do that, you go up to Edit and then you select Copy, and then you'll just select all the other clips that you want to paste the attributes to, and then again you go Edit and then paste attributes. If you've already done different effects that you want to apply to the other clips, you can just go ahead and check the boxes of what you want to apply, but as you can see, I've only done the color effects, so I'm just going to check the color effects box and make sure it's the color board 1, and then you paste that and it automatically makes all the other clips the same color adjustments, so that's great. I just go ahead, check through, and make sure everything looks how I want it to. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust the volume for the clips. So I will just select all. You can either just go to File and then select all, or another shortcut is Command A. Once you've selected all the clips, you go up to the audio little button and then you turn the volume up. For me, what I'll do for my audio is I will typically turn it up to 12, and then I will also apply the noise removal. This tool is really helpful for eliminating any background noise, so the kind of like muffly, static white noise. I would just say make sure you go through and listen to the clips and make sure that it's the audio you want, because when I first started making my YouTube videos, I would turn the noise removal up to 100%, and while that removed the background noise, it also really affected just the pitch of my voice, and I really didn't like it. So over time, I realized that 50% was kind of like the perfect happy medium. So yeah, I'll just apply the 50% of noise removal, and then as you can see, I just went through and listened to it a little bit, and I realized I want to make the loudness a little bit more. So you can make it even louder by just going to loudness, and it'll automatically apply 40% for the amount, and this is what I found to work really well for me as well, so I'll just keep it at 40%. Alright, now that I've done the audio and the color grading, next is doing the rough cut. The rough cut is where you will filter out parts of the raw footage that you want to keep and what parts you want to discard. This is the part that typically takes the longest because you have to go through all the footage and just like figure out what you want to keep. I use the blade tool to chop up the parts that I want, so you go over to the arrow and then you select blade, and you can just cut directly on the timeline, choose what parts you want, and then just delete what you don't want. Another tip slash like shortcut kind of thing is if you do Command B, it will automatically apply the blades, so that way you don't have to keep hovering back from select tool to blade tool and so on. It's a lot easier if you just do Command B every single time you want to clip something. Okay, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and cut out whatever I want. After I've done the rough cut, I will go through and add the different effects. The first thing I'll typically do is start with titles. What I'll do for titles is I go over to the sidebar, and then where you find the T, you go click on that and then click on titles. I'll choose custom title, and then here in this example, I want to make a title for when I talk about the interviewing process at my job. So I will just type out the word interview. In terms of font, what I'll typically go with is Helvetica New, I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it, and I'll go with medium italic. I just like how this looks. I'll increase the size, and then I'll also increase the tracking. The tracking just spreads the letters out a little bit more. I'll move that up to the location that I want, and then I'll go ahead and play around with different options for the text. As you can see, if you scroll down, there are some options to make the text a little bit more fancy. You can make it a 3D text, you can change the face, outline, glow, drop shadow, etc. What I'll first do is I'll go to face and decide whether or not I want to change the color of the font. So here it automatically gave me white, but sometimes I'll go with black. So here you can just see I'm playing around, seeing which one I like better, decide to go with white. Then after that, I go and look at outline and see if I want to make the title outlined. You can change the color, opacity, blur, width of the outline, etc. But I didn't really like how the outline looks, so I decided not to include that. Instead of doing outlined, what I decided to do was drop shadow. This will just create that depth to the text. So I chose the drop shadow, made sure it was black, and then increased the opacity. I also increased the distance a little bit so you could see a little bit more of the shadow. And yeah, I just like to play around with the effects a little bit. I think it gives the text a little bit better of a look. So after that, I'll just go ahead and apply the text to different sections of my video. Next, I'm going to show you guys how I do my transitions. Typically, I don't use too many transitions, but one that I will use is the slide transition, And I'll do this when I want to move from one video clip to another or like one topic to another. In order to do that, you go over to the very right and you'll see this weird little icon right here. The slide transition is under the movements section, so go to movements and then apply the slide transition. It will apply the transition to both ends of the clip, so if you only want it on one end of the clip, make sure you go ahead and delete the other side. Once I do that, I'm gonna go and adjust the length of the transition. So I don't want the slide to be too long. I want it to be pretty short, so I just make it a little bit shorter. And then I'll just go ahead and review it, make sure I like how it looks. With this transition in particular, I like to add in a sound effect, and this is just generally if you want to add in sound effects. I'll show you how to do that now. For this transition, I want that swoosh sound effect. What I'll do is I'll just go over to YouTube and I'll just type in, for example, like swipe sound effect transition, look that up, and then just find a video where I like the sound effect of it. Then I'll go to the website YouTube to MP3 Converter. This website is super helpful for downloading any YouTube videos if you want it in MP3 or MP4 format. Since I just want the sound effect for it, I'll go ahead and download it as an MP3. But if you want to download a YouTube video and you want also like the video aspect of it, you can also use this to use the MP4. But yeah, I don't need the video part, I just need the sound. So I will go ahead, drop the link, download it as an MP3, and then once I have that, I'll just drag it into the timeline. And then you can see the audio wavelength of it. I will make sure that that's lined up with the transition, and I'll just go ahead, play it, make sure I like how it sounds and that it goes together well. As I said, I don't use too many transitions, but another one that I'll like to use is Bad TV. So that's just another option directly in Final Cut Pro. You can just go to transitions and find that one. Kind of gives that grainy TV look, and I'm sure that you've seen it on a ton of other people's YouTube videos. So yeah, that's a pretty popular one. Sometimes what I like to do is if there's a clip I want to increase the screen size, or just like make it zoom into my face a little bit, I'll typically do this just for a couple seconds where there's like a funny clip or something. Let me tell you, worst decision I made during my time at Target. It was so boring. In order to do that, what you'll do is you will break up the clip to the part that you want to zoom in on. So here you can see I'm just doing Control B or the blade tool, and I'm just cutting up to where I want to make it larger. Then you can just go over to this square icon and then click transform. And once you click transform, you're able to enlarge the video. So I'll just make it whatever size I want, and then after that I'll just go through again, make sure I like how it looks. Alright, now going to music. This is definitely something that took me some trial and error when I first started making my YouTube videos. You want to make sure that you don't use copyright music because then your videos will get demonetized. So copyright music is typically, like the popular songs, like what you'll see on Spotify and stuff. You can't use that music without getting copyrighted or demonetized. So you want to look for non-copyright music. The two websites that I will usually find my music on is YouTube Audio Library and Thematic. The YouTube Audio Library is just directly on YouTube. They have a ton of different songs that you can use. You can just Google YouTube Audio Library and it'll automatically come up with a ton of different options for songs, and you just download them and then put them into your timeline. The YouTube Audio Library also has sound effects, so if you want to get some specific sound effects, you can look through there. When I first started using YouTube, I used a lot of the YouTube Audio Library songs. There's some pretty popular ones on there, but then I found Thematic, and I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it. I'm pretty sure it's Thematic. But yeah, it's basically a website where there's a ton of different audio tracks that are non-copyright, and you just sign in with your YouTube account. I absolutely love Thematic. There are so many great songs, and I'll usually find ones that are pretty popular. Like a lot of other YouTubers use these songs, so you'll usually find some that you recognize from other popular YouTubers. They'll make it super easy to credit an artist, so once you find a song that you like, you just download it, and then make sure you include the credit info into the description box of your video. But they have all that directly right there for you, and you just have to copy it. They make it super easy for you. Once I download whatever song I want, I'll just drag it into the timeline, and then I'll play it through and see what volume I want to adjust it to. Typically the song is louder than the raw footage, so in the raw footage I increase the volume, but here I found that I did not need to increase the volume for the song, so I just kept it as it was. If you're interested to know what songs I will usually use in my videos or some like pretty popular ones, the ones that I use from Thematic are Orange and Pomegranate, Angel Boy, Warm Feeling, and do it like you. Moving into my intro and outro, you can either make your intro or outro. There are different platforms that you can use, so a pretty popular one is PicMonkey. That's also where I make my thumbnails, and I'm planning on making another video on how I make my thumbnails, so if you're interested in that, definitely let me know in the comments. I made my outro on PicMonkey, but for my intro, what I actually did is there are a ton of different YouTube channels that will make intros that you can use. All you have to do is just make sure you credit them. I don't usually put the intro in at the very beginning. I'll give a little bit of a preview as to what the main topics are, or maybe like a little cliffhanger, and then I'll put in the intro. It's super easy to find good looking intros, so just go into YouTube and then type in something like aesthetic intro template, and as you can see there are a ton of different options. Here's one example of one that I was able to find, and you just choose whichever one you like and then go back to that YouTube to MP3 converter website we were at earlier. This time go over to the MP4 section, and this will just make sure that you can download video with the actual video as well, not just the sound. So click on MP4, put in the link, download that. It will go into your computer downloads, and then you can just directly drop that into the timeline. I'll just cut up whatever part of the video that I want, and then if I just want to put in my channel name, I will make that custom title again. Then I'll just play around with the different fonts and color until I like how it looks. You can also do this to find your outro, but whatever you do, just make sure that you go into the description box of whatever video that you downloaded and make sure you check what the guidelines are. So for example, in this girl's video, she said that no credit is needed, but don't claim that you made the actual intro. So yeah, just make sure you follow the rules that they made. Most of the time they'll ask you to credit them, so if they do, just make sure you include the credits in the bio. For my outro, I always use the same one, so again, I'll just copy it from my last video and put it directly into this video's timeline, but also show you how I made that outro. It's super easy. I just go over to PicMonkey and then I create a custom new page. For YouTube, the videos and thumbnails, you want to make the size 1280 by 720. Then after that, I just go onto Google Images and I find some sort of picture or background that I like. So here I just typed in VSCO background to find something that I liked. So I just copied that and then pasted it directly into PicMonkey. Then I just got a picture of myself and put that into the PicMonkey as well and put a border around it, and yep, that's it. It's pretty simple. That's my outro. Once you're on YouTube, you can include like video options or options to subscribe, but you do that directly in YouTube once you've exported the video. So for now, all you need to do is just create something like this. Something else that I'll play around with is different graphic options. So I will create some graphics sometimes in Procreate. That's just an app that I use on my iPad to sketch with the Apple Pencil. If you guys want a video on how I make my graphics, then let me know and I would love to make that video. But basically what I'll do is I'll just sketch different titles or animations that I want. So here there's a section where I talk about the target orientation process, and I want to make it a little bit of an animation. You can use whatever drawing platform you want, but I think Procreate's the easiest and that's what I have. So I'll make two different slides that look similar but are just spaced out a little bit differently. So the stars are just shifted a little bit more and the words orientation are shifted a little bit more. Then I will import each clip into the timeline and I'll just copy and paste the clips over and over so they're like alternating. I'll make each clip just a few seconds, and as you can see when you play it through, it kind of creates that moving effect, and I like how this looks. It gives it a little bit more character. And yeah, that's pretty much everything I'll do. I'll just go through, watch it a couple of times and clean it up here and there, make sure that I want all the clips that are actually in there, and then once I'm ready to export the video, what I'll do is go to share the project, and then I will go to master file, I will name the video, and then go over to settings. This is something that I definitely wish I'd known when I first started making YouTube videos. So if you go over to video codec, you'll see that there are a ton of different options in terms of the quality of the video. I used to do the highest quality because I thought that that's what would make the video look best. So I used to choose like Apple ProRes, and you definitely do not need to do that because when you put your videos into YouTube, YouTube will automatically compress them, and it's just a waste of storage space. Like the Apple ProRes files are so large and it doesn't change anything for the actual YouTube video. So what I recommend using is H.264, and this is what most YouTubers will use. So yes, the file size is much more manageable for this, so it will not impact your storage too much. I will click on that and then just press next, and then just save it to wherever you want. I'll save it to my desktop and just name the file. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Just upload to YouTube, and again, make sure you credit whatever intro, outros, or songs that you download in your description bio. I hope that this video was helpful for you guys. I definitely know that it can take some trial and error and just testing out the different effects that Final Cut Pro has. Don't worry, it took me a while to get used to it, but once you make a few videos, you definitely get into the flow and it gets easier over time. So I would say that if you're struggling at first, don't give up, just stick through it and just play around with different effects, see what kind of goes with your style, and yeah, over time it will get a lot easier. And now when I edit videos, it's just kind of like muscle memory. It's a lot easier than when I first started. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below for more. Again, if you have any questions, just feel free to leave them in the comments and I'll try my best to answer them. And yeah, until next time, I will see you guys later. Bye!